Plant predators like cows and deer, and some of them grow up to be omnivores like him and us, and some of them grow up to be carnivores like, say, cats, bobcats, cougar, even our domestic house cats, not able to really digest plants. Now, what parts of plants are safe for him to eat? Really not much, but one of his favorites are those that plants actually want him to eat. Plants don't want to get eaten, and generally they protect themselves with tough tissues that are hard to chew and toxins that are poisonous. But this is different. What is it? Oh, look at him. He's like, I see bright colors. Bright colors tell me to check it out. And when my sharp teeth touch it, they break through the skin, and a drug oozes out of the apple called fructose. Fructose causes special parts of his brain to light up, what we call pleasure sensors. Just like a lot of drugs that are actually illegal in our country, sugar is the most powerful legal drug. It's made by plants to get animals to consume their babies. He is swallowing the babies right now. He doesn't even know it. He's like, oh my goodness, it's sugar! And he's gobbling it up. Now, in an apple, there's actually so much sugar that it would kill an Arctic fox as a drug overdose unless he had a way of protecting himself. But he does. His body can make something called insulin, which gets the sugar someplace safe. He either uses it for energy or he turns it into body fat. That's right. Body fat is safe and essential for him to store. So at the end of the summer, when a lot of plants are bearing fruit, he'll go around and eat a ton of fruit, which exposes him to a lot of sugar and fructose, which makes him prepares him for the winter. He also grows the thickest fur coat of any mammal on Earth. So in the summer, the sun is up, it's 70 or 80 degrees out in the Arctic in many areas, and he's very, very skinny. He maybe weighs 7 pounds and has less than 10% body fat. Oh, easy, stay on the table, please. But in the winter, he increases to more than 50% body fat. He will almost double in weight, and then he will go most of the winter not eating anything. Because food availability is scarce in the winter. Just like around here, typically before we had, easy guys, you've got to stop moving in the front. You're making him really nervous, okay? No more moving. Thank you. Okay? It's scary enough. It's such a big audience. There we go. Until we had grocery stores come around about 60 or 70 years ago, we had to rely on our local farmer or canning and fermenting and things like that in order to be able to survive the winters in New England, right? And so we're hunting things that were active during the winter. Well, he does have his own pantry, and it's called his body fat, and that's what will help him stay warm and survive the long winter. So the Arctic fox is one of the most adaptable animals on the planet. Let me ask you a question. Could an Arctic fox survive in New Hampshire? Who says no? All hands down. Who says yes? I'll clue you in. He's not an indoor animal. He lives outside year-round with us. And even though he is exposed to an unnatural environment with us, like we are subject to a whole bunch of regulations. The state doesn't even allow us to allow any contact between him and the public, ever. Okay? And the federal government, rules made by those people who really don't know that much about a lot of things, politicians, we have to be compliant and inspect for compliance with the Animal Welfare Act, which is a great thing that we support. Unfortunately, it only applies to mammals. I think that's completely unfair to like the 99.7 other animals on the planet, percentage of other animals. But we are required to feed him every single day. Can you believe that? That is so ridiculous. Humans aren't even really supposed to eat every day. I mean, in the wild, we would never have a regular meal. And so just like we have health effects from constantly being exposed to food, he does. It actually shortens his lifespan. Now, he doesn't have threat of starvation or freezing or getting eaten by a predator. We did sadly just lose our long-term Arctic fox named Coda a few months ago. He retired from life. But in the wild, they only live 1,000 to 2,000 days, really. 3 to maybe 5 or 6 years. He lived to be 9.5, so that's not bad, right? Okay? And you know here, he's just a young guy. He's just a little over 1 year old. And he's kind of filling in for Coda, our old man, and I hope you enjoyed getting a chance to meet him. Give Juno a big round of applause. This is one of the Endangered Species Act and Conservation's success stories. This is a perfect example of like our Fish and Game Department, working with private entities in order to benefit conservation. This was a partnership between the federal government and zoos. Now, I know for a lot of people in our society, zoos is a 4-letter word, if you know what I mean, right? Okay? But today's zoos are very different than they were even 30 or 40 years ago. And in fact, there are dozens of species that exist today that would not if it weren't for the great work of wildlife sanctuaries and zoos. And here is one of them. Is it an American animal? Yes, it is. Okay? It is. Now, is it an alligator or a crocodile? Why are you saying that because it's an American animal? Did you guys know that the North American continent is the only place on planet Earth where an alligator and a crocodile share the same habitat? That does not happen anywhere else on Earth. And when I was a kid, these animals were an endangered species. Okay? They were also persecuted just because humans have an imagination. Right? Kind of like around here. I actually was